Hi, my friend. Dr. Martin here. In the last 3 videos, I talked about how to break bad habits with a focus on unhealthy snacking. Now, I will look at another bad habit. In this case, it's going to look at how you interact with a child, adolescent, or adult with intense emotions and challenging behaviors. Dealing with an individual who has intense emotions can be difficult and tiring. They may exhibit frequent and intense negative behaviors like tantrums, screaming, swearing, and property destruction. This negative emotional reactivity pattern can also be contagious. When your child gets triggered, you too can get triggered in response. Like your child, your reactions are automatic and can be hurtful and destructive. Having a strong negative reaction back to your child, for example, screaming, threatening, lecturing, warning, accusing, arguing, does not in any way help build a positive relationship with your child. When you negatively react to your child's extreme behavior, you are on autopilot. Very little thought goes into your response. What can you do about this? You need to change your automatic negative responding into purposeful, positive actions. And to do that, I recommend the following 7-step sequence for breaking a bad habit. But first, if you like this video on breaking bad habits, hit the like button and also the subscribe button too. Thanks so much. Step 1. Identify your goal or desired outcome and ask yourself the following question. Is this outcome important to me? Get clear on what it is you want to do. Hopefully, you realize that yelling, exploding, arguing, demanding, screaming, nagging, or other negative automatic responses to your child's challenging behaviors are not accomplishing what you want. Let's say your immediate goals are to have peace and quiet in the house and for your child to respond positively to your requests. Your long-term goals may be to have your child grow and develop into a person that will have a safe, productive, and healthy future life. Since both your short-term and your long-term goals are important to you, go to step 2. Step 2 is start small. To begin with, you identify specifically when the hassles, fights, or arguments occur. Keep count throughout the day and record each instance of negative reactions with you and your child. What time? Where? What is your mood? Happy, sad, stressed? What is a child's mood? Stressed, upset, angry? Just keeping a record of your negative interaction patterns, for example, your screams and demands, may lead to eliminating them. Keeping a record will also give you information on which specific negative interaction pattern you want to bust. Let's say that your goal is to stop arguing with your child at any time, any place, when alone, or with others. Now that is a big piece of behavior. It's the approach that most people take when trying to break a bad habit. Like, I'm going to lose 40 pounds, go to the gym every day, and eat only healthy foods from now on. Doesn't work. Does not work. Doesn't work. High motivation does not last. Motivation is a fickle thing. It comes and it goes, and it's not dependable. But by keeping records, you've come up with a list of times and places where the problems occur. Look throughout your day. Does it happen during the morning routines? Getting up from bed, getting out of bed to start with, getting dressed, coming to eat breakfast, getting on the bus. After school routines, for example, doing homework, playtime, coming to dinner when called, doing some after dinner activities, or going to bed routines, having a bath, brushing teeth, doing some quiet, enjoyable activities, turning off the computer, the iPhone, or the TV, having lights out at a reasonable time. Now, you need to narrow down the universe of negative interactions. Just pick one specific instance of the arguing habit you want to break. Make it an easier one to start with. For example, You know, when your child comes home from school, he or she is already stressed, not willing to listen to anything you have to say. That's a tough one. Save it for later. In this case, let's say an easier one might be going to bed and lights out when asked. Still very difficult, but in this example, not as difficult with the after-school behaviors. Now, you may want to work on several, but wait. Once you have this first one firmly established, then gradually expand to other instances of negative interaction patterns. Remember, what we are looking at are your negative behavior patterns when dealing with your child. We're not looking at your child's negative behaviors. That's a separate topic for future videos. But for now, we're focusing on you, your negative responses. Responses that have become automatic when you're upset with your child's refusals, disobedience, backtalk, and arguments. Okay, the next step 3, is to identify the prompts. What triggers this behavior in you? Focus on the triggers. How do you learn to respond to your child's emotional activity without getting sucked into conflict? Understanding what makes you vulnerable to your negative reactions is important in reducing conflicts. So first, you should try to become aware of your problem areas, things that set you off. These triggers can be situations, behaviors, thoughts, or emotions that can set you off in a split second. Now, for example, one parent I worked with said her biggest trigger was backtalk. When her daughter started to backtalk, she said she lost all patience and could no longer listen or think straight. Good parenting choices are unlikely to happen when you're upset and highly emotional yourself. The first step is to learn to identify which thoughts, feelings, behaviors, or events are most triggering for you. It could well be it's a combination of factors. It may be not only when your child defies you, but when you're tired out and stressed. Okay, so again, in the example I'm giving you, you've identified the problem areas going to bed on time without ending up in an argument. So make a list of triggers that prompt your negative reactivity patterns. Think back. In the last few weeks at your child's bedtime, when you were triggered by your child's backtalk, refusals, emotional reactivity. Ask yourself the following questions for each negative situation. What were you doing just before you were triggered? Where were you? What time was it? Who else was there in the triggering situation besides you and your child? Was another parent there? Siblings? What did you do when triggered? For example, shouting, making threats. If you find yourself stuck trying to figure out exactly what triggered you, then ask yourself the following questions. What was your mood at the time? Were you anxious, angry, frustrated, tired? What was your physical condition? Were you hungry? Were you stressed? Were you ill? What thoughts were you having? I'm sick of this behavior. There she goes again. I can't stand it when she acts this way. Now, reflect back on the situation and ask, how did you feel right afterwards? Tension released? Tantrum ended? Guilty and ashamed? Pick one trigger that is important and easy to identify. For example, child refusing to go to bed. And ask, can I remove this trigger? In many cases, you can modify the environment and the behavior so the prompt is not present. But bedtime happens every night, so you can't remove it. Can I avoid the trigger? Well, you've done that in the past and it hasn't helped at all. If you don't follow through and request a reasonable bedtime, your child will stay up late. Not telling your child that it's bedtime and letting him or her stay up late on a computer or watching TV is not an option. So most likely, you'll need to move to the next step and work on the routine itself. But that is the topic for the next video, where I will cover the final 4 steps, steps 4 through 7. The questions of the day are, will you start keeping track of your negative interaction patterns with the person you support? What are the triggers that prompt you to lose your cool? Will you identify them? And will you pick just one to start working on? Now, Don't forget, if you're interested in everything I'm talking about, to hit both the like and the subscribe buttons and turn on that little bell next to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my uploads, because I know you will love them. This channel is being designed especially for you. Take a look at my online Healthy Lifestyle Academy. It has 2 programs, a mindfulness program and a healthy eating program. They're both designed for support providers. The link is below. Thanks for watching, and please leave any comments you might have or suggestions for topics you would like to see covered. I really appreciate that. So see you next time, where I will cover the last 4 steps in the habit breaking program. And don't forget, just keep on trucking.